Poker machine reform was one of the hottest political topics in 2011, and it looks set to remain divisive this year. The independent Tasmanian MP Andrew Wilkie has given the federal government until May to introduce laws for a mandatory pre-commitment scheme on high-intensity machines. Mr Wilkie and other supporters, such as South Australian Senator Nick Xenophon, point to similar schemes overseas, in particular to the Canadian province of Nova Scotia. But critics, including Clubs Australia, have used the same example to argue against pre-commitment. Video journalist Calvin Ng travelled to Nova Scotia to investigate.
This small province on Canada's east coast has a town called Sydney. There aren't many similarities with Australia, but one common issue is problem gambling, especially addiction to poker machines, which the locals call video lottery terminals or VLTs.
I had an affair, and because of this affair, I had lost everything and ended up going bankrupt, but the affair that I had was with a VLT.
There are around 2,800 VLTs tucked away in bars, clubs and restaurants across Nova Scotia, which has a population of just under 1 million people. The machines are what we call low intensity. A spin costs between 25 cents and $2.50. The money generated is put into roads, schools and hospitals, but almost all of that money comes from a few regular players, and 1 in 4 of them can't control their play.
It's a game where persistence doesn't reward you, it hurts you.
Calls to the helpline, 97% of those calls are coming from people playing either VLTs or slot machines.
Debbie Langell is a former addict who now wants to see every machine removed. Her 2-year affair cost her $180,000, including all of her retirement savings.
I was so ashamed. My family did not know that I had been gambling because this is an addiction that is so invisible. You do not see it in your eyes, you do not smell it on your breath. You can hide it so well.
Many people enjoy video lottery terminals, VLTs, and slot machines.
On top of numerous campaigns, the Nova Scotia government has launched a smart card to help people monitor their play. Every poker machine is now fitted with a card-based pre-commitment system called MyPlay. The government is spending up to $25 million on this system, even though pokie revenues have been falling for several years and could fall even further.
And we're prepared to deal with that. I think the benefits of ensuring that we introduce responsible gaming initiatives outweigh any reduction in revenue that we might bring in when it comes to gaming.
From April, everyone must sign up to a card to play a machine, but using the actual features on it, like setting spending and time limits, will still be optional. John McMullen from St Mary's University reviewed the early studies into the card.
The research did not demonstrate, to me anyways, very convincingly that it had great benefit to problem players. That was an issue that was really not, I think, researched to a clear and obvious conclusion.
It's a view shared by Clubs Australia. Its president, Peter Newell, told the Joint Parliamentary Committee on Gambling Reform,
Nova Scotia Canada trialled pre-commitment cards. They determined that the solution was of no benefit to problem gamblers and so chose to introduce voluntary pre-commitment instead.
Why would someone who is at no or low risk be seeking to self-exclude? There is no reason for them to do that using a system.
Tracy Schranz from Focal Research says there simply hasn't been enough research to find out whether the card would help change a problem gambler's behaviour. But its latest study found more than 2/3 of problem gamblers supported the card and would reduce their play because of it.
One of the things we know from all of our past research is that the people who are at risk and problem gamblers are constantly trying to find ways to help themselves. And they are the first, they will be the first to adopt these features that are in the MyPlay system.
But there's anger at the government's decision to keep the features voluntary.
For a number of years, there was a commitment to moving ahead for it being mandatory and universal. And when we explained how the card system would work, I didn't have a single client who didn't say, I need that.
If I had a choice, I probably wouldn't have. But if it was mandatory, I probably would have, but I would have, again, manipulated it in a way that I would be able to continue gambling and not have to stop because I reached my limit.
One study in Nova Scotia found most people would actually like a spending cap of around $100 a day, but whether that will work is still up for debate. Researchers are worried that problem gamblers will still find a way around the system by setting a ridiculously high limit.
I don't think that the state of Australia or any jurisdiction should determine what a player decides he is going to use as a function of a pre-commitment or a voluntary, setting of whatever limits or times.
John Sidos heads the local company TechLink, which developed MyPlay. It took 12 weeks to retrofit all the machines.
It was probably an approximation of about $2,000 a terminal. Now it's half of that, so it's down, below $1,000 a terminal.
As for whether a pre-commitment card would take away a gambler's freedom to have a punt,
How?
Yeah, I don't understand how it would take away any freedom.
Anything, yeah.
This doesn't stop us from driving if we have a driver's license. And similarly, this won't stop anyone from gambling. It will stop underage people, potentially. That might be useful.
One thing that we're all noticing, and as we watch Australia and other jurisdictions break into this type of corporate responsibility, is that this is a big business, and the heavyweights are laying in. As you see, there's political friction all over the place and some tremendous lobbying going on to stop this from happening.
The cards have been out for well over a year, as well as the machines set up to use them. I haven't seen a gambler yet use one. They don't.